whatever you're doing. So you can start talking as I figure out the rest right now.
Uh-oh. Well, welcome to Nature's Neighbor. I am your host, Melanie Blankenship. I will be joined by a co-host who is telling me he's going to be racing in here anytime in the next second or so. So when you watch this body go across this, go fast, Josh, we're live. I told him you were going to be late. Oh, I know. It's always a big question of the day. What T-shirt is he going to have on today? Thank God it's not a Dodgers, but it is Ponchos. Pancho Villa.
I just put on a clean T-shirt for you.
Oh, thank you. So,
and my clean hat.
Welcome to Nature's Neighbor. I am your host, Melanie Blankenship, now joined with my co-host, Mr. Josh Carmichael. Hello, Josh.
Been a minute. How are you doing?
Pretty good. Did you bring some fog with you? Because it's a little warm outside.
Use that up here.
He came from the coast, so that's why he was a little late and behind. But you know what? Happy Monday, July 14th, 2025.
Back to work. I was gone for a week.
Oh, and it's
Down
been a week,
beaches,
Joshy.
yeah.
It's been a crazy one.
How's everyone doing here?
I'm personally doing okay. Miguel's doing okay. We're all, we're alive. We're moving. We're staying positive in a crazy world. I found this meme that on social media that talks about July should be the month of, oh my gosh, I'm working a lot. All I'm doing is working, and then July comes and goes, I don't want to work anymore. Because that's the best way to describe the way I'm feeling.
Yeah, for a few days of vacation, I'm like, I don't think I want to come back and do this.
Don't want to come back. Oh, no, I know.
Mess today, but yeah, I laid it out. Back in action.
Glad you're here.
Yeah, back home. So.
Well, let's recap. Last Monday I had two amazing guests, Laura Brooks and Neil Roberts of Clavo, and both of them together are the Historical Society board that is right next door to Nature's Touch Nursery and Harvest. We're still coming off of it's a tragedy. Like, that's the best way to describe it, but it's not the way that I can explain the feelings. To be honest with you, the feelings that I have is a loss of identity, loss of, just this uncertainty of a structure that was taken down by arson. There's no suspects named now, and we're in reference to the Templeton Feed and Grain location that's been active since like 1946. Yeah. Just to say that number is just crazy to me. But, and why is it
historical building that's still functioning and really, like you said, iconic, namesake for town there. And
they're now doing retail business temporarily, just as a pop-up at Nature's Touch Nursery and Harvest.
Okay.
That's how close we are, right?
Yeah.
Like, it was just right down the street when this fire, half a block away, where this horrible fire took place. And my family and I, opened up the property to them. So now they're doing a little pop-up at Nature's Touch Nursery and Harvest. And I'm just going to put it out there for the live people. They finally have rabbit pellets and lay crumble because, oh my gosh, it's bad enough that my phones ring off the hook, but the amount of phone calls when I put out on social media that I was opening up our property to Templeton Feed and Grain so that they could continue to sell product that they had saved, my phone started ringing about people asking me if they had rabbit pellets in stock. I'm like, I don't know.
Let me check. Aisle.
Yeah. What pallet out there in the middle of
behind the dumpster.
So, and with that phone call, came, people telling me thank you, but I'm gonna share something, because what I'm realizing is there is a huge. Okay, so let me take this back. I'm super honored that I have the property that we can do this with. Like, I care about this family.
Downtown, yeah.
I care about this family. I want them to continue, and I want them to succeed. People want to do something, right? There's this need to, in this tragedy, go out and try to help, right? But people don't know, what I'm getting at is people don't know how to help anymore. When you're helping, it doesn't need to be about you, right? Like, I did this.
Hopefully you give.
I did this not even thinking about, would this benefit my business? Sure. I did this because I wanted them to succeed.
Help
like,
friend
honestly,
in need,
I didn't think about anything other than, oh my goodness, I need them to continue, right?
Yeah.
Me, why do I need them to continue? Because I know what that infrastructure of that business provides for a community.
Yeah.
Yes, it was our identity, but at the same time, it also provided farmers to keep open land,
Yeah,
to grain grow, right?
It's a lifeline or the bloodline of town, you know?
Yeah, and then to feed animals that were destined for our food industry, destined to fulfill something, right? It's not just. It is a legacy, but it's also an infrastructure that we lost, but the business still needs to continue because it's not just about them. It's about a community.
Yeah, the building is one thing and the business is another thing.
Exactly.
And both of them really made up that big component of a town like Templeton. And I keep going back to, just our talk leading into that week about accountability and people really, kind of owning up to their own, potential or, abilities to input, to their communities and to town. And so I have a lot of, moments where I just kind of keep leaning on that thought and that conversation. And then for that to follow on the heels of it was really, tough to see from afar.
Where I'm going with this is that phone call. This lady that called me, I don't know who she was, but her comments to me, and I'm using her as an example. There's others like hers, but not as aggressive as her, was her demanding me to go outside and ask them if they had it in stock before she drove to town.
Oh, wow.
And I'm like, well, I would if I was there, but I wasn't there. I was in Creston when she. Yeah. And when I told her I couldn't do it, she demanded me to find somebody that could, because she was bound and determined to know if they had one bag of rabbit pellets and one bag of lay crumble. And she demanded, because Templeton Feed and Grain was not answering their phone. Okay, so I'm giving this as an example, but I'm also going to give couple of other examples. And what am I doing? I'm going to share the overwhelming amount of people coming out of the woodwork telling us thank you for doing what we do, coming out. But I'm also witnessing what Templeton Feed and Grain are going through, because we're all sharing our properties. How many people are coming up to them telling them that they bought hats or T-shirts that say Templeton Feed and Grain on it? So I have a funny story to tell you about their apparel.
Those are cool, yeah.
Yeah, their apparel. So back in the day,
I remember the beanie with the big ball on top.
The big old white bowl on the top, but yes. Or how about the foam green, that funky green that was foam it wasn't a trucker. They were foam hats. Like back in the early 2000s, early or late 90s, they were foam. They weren't like racerback. They weren't like stylish hats. They were these foam green hats. All the boys would get them a little larger and kind of wear them off to the side in their bills. But the funny thing is so Rick, the owner, was sharing me, because I always knew, okay, Templeton was its own world, right? Paso girls knew that a boy that wore a Templeton Feed and Grain hat was a ranch style boy, okay? Why? Because Templeton Feed and Grain still only sell their hats for $11. Why? Because those hats were about giving them away to people that were supplying them grain or working with them within
when you're outside every day all day.
You're working with them. You're working with them within that system, right?
Yeah.
And I'll never forget the comment that Rick has said, because all these people are like, "Oh, I'm going to support Templeton Feed and Grain." Templeton Feed and Grain has been out of apparel for a little while because of what's gone on, but at the same time, it's not easy to get apparel, as we know. It's not easy to get apparel, especially when you're going for a certain color and so on and so forth. But I'll never forget what Rick's comment. Rick is the owner. Rick German is the owner of Templeton. He said it the other day. He goes, it's funny. He's like, never been in the business of apparel. That apparel was only to share with people that help keep Templeton Feed and Grain going. Yeah. We only started selling it because all of a sudden it became people wanted to be.
People thought it was cool.
Thought it was cool, right? But that's not who we were about. He goes, Melanie, we sell grain. He's like, so people want to
real business.
Yeah, people want to support us. Come buy grain. You don't have animals to feed? Go support that by buying a bag of feed and go donate it to a FFA or a 4-H kid that is, trying to get their animals
out of his own pocket.
Or how about a local farmer that is raising chickens or rabbits or some of your
there's a big disconnect there from
that. There's a huge disconnect.
So people don't understand how
because then we're going to talk about the rebuild and the understanding of regulations. People have no clue anymore
Yeah.
to what takes place in an average small business and what we have to go through and do to keep our doors open.
Yeah.
Just like the lady that was demanding that Nature's Touch, go find product for Templeton Feeding Grain. I would do that in a heartbeat. Give me one other business that that would have done that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, why? Because most of us businesses are doing things every second of the day, 24 hours a day, thinking constantly on how we're going to keep our small businesses going. And the demand of the consumer has driven this disconnect of reality of what takes place in order for us to conduct business. And why am I saying this is, yes, there are those people that are so grateful and that are willing to go out and support, but there are a majority of people who have no idea anymore what it takes to do this anymore. So what do we have to do? You've been hearing me harp this. How do we educate? How do we grasp this disconnect? Because at the end of the day, how do we be more preventative instead of so reactive? There has been talk after talk after talk that we have a hoodlum problem in Templeton. Then you allow the use of fireworks in Templeton when we can't even address the hoodlum problem already before 4th of July, right? There's a picture circling on Facebook right now, the iconic burning down granary.
Yeah.
And there's graffiti all along the side wall in Templeton. Tagged graffiti. You know what I mean? It's
well, small towns, the kids kind of get a little big for their britches. I mean, we have that a lot in Los Osos growing up. And every so many years or, each batch of kids around the same age, kind of trying to sow their oats would, break into cars or cause some kind of spree that was really uncharacteristic of a small town like that. And it just sort of comes into more, again, to the accountability. Like we said, how do we as a whole take care of everyone there? And, so that's just really a tragic moment and story of how to go through this because of, not
so
really a
much
good reason.
of this, though.
Yeah.
This is what I'm saying. It's
well, you're saying that even the parade was suffering or something.
There was a lot to it, right? It takes a village, and there's no way of protecting ourselves anymore because everything is about insurance. Everything is about permits. Everything is about
passing the buck,
and just adding it to.
Instead of, like we said, really being vigilant within the community and cooperative. That has really died in a lot of ways, and you don't know who to rely on unless you really start to, make those steps or those groups that can, do that. A lot of times it's something we found in some, groups we work with a lot and doing city repair and things. It was like, the kids will sort of abuse a place if it's out of sight, out of mind. Mm-hmm. But if their parents are going there or their grandparents or somebody are going to see that graffiti or something like that, then, they would not do it because they don't want to, be a real, bad kid. It's just moments that they're having,
we have film of them
growing.
We have film of those kids throwing that firework on the roof of Templeton Feeding Grain. Why would anybody think about... but at the same time, whereas again, our accountability with our law system too, there's video. It's
the police are definitely part of that equation.
But the thing is,
we have the sheriff, the same as here.
As a child or anybody right now, they have video. It's just a matter of time before they figure out who it is.
Yeah, somebody's gonna burn.
It's everybody has cameras now. I have 5 cameras on Nature's Touch now. I already caught the gentleman that keeps, and I shouldn't call him gentleman, keeps knocking down our panels because he thinks that we shouldn't block off our driveway. And so, I caught him on camera and I, shared. So we know but at the same time, it's just sad that it's seeming like it's okay. And it's not okay, but it's also, how dumb do you have to be to not think that there's cameras in every corner of everything now?
There's definitely got to be sort of those consequences and, repercussions.
How about the community that's connected that we can hold people accountable for their bad actions? Because, there's so many things that are going on regulatory wise and or insurance wise or just basics socially
I mean, if
right
someone
now.
is messing with my stuff, like people know better. Like I'm not gonna be easy
Don't
about
get caught
it
on camera.
or happy about it. You know, if you're messing with my stuff,
But it's
you don't. That's why I put my name on everything we do and stuff, because people know, you know, the
tag
Carmichael
it.
brothers and who we are and all those things, and
But it's crazy.
you know, it's our
There's-
names, so people aren't
there's-
gonna mess with that as much
There's
as
problems, and it's like, how do we come together and fix this? And it's, you know, there's so many things that, you know, we're saying and we're doing, but every level right now has got disconnect, you know, and that's where things are going to continue to happen until we get connected.
Yeah.
And that's when we start
That's been
understanding
every conversation we've had this year.
we're neighborly. We are neighbors. Let's work together. When I was on my way to Creston last week on Monday, I get a phone call, Melanie, what's going on at the property? I'm like, I'm working and I got tenants. What do you want? Like, do you want to talk to Templeton Feed and Grain? They need a place. Well, do I need to talk to them? What do we need to do to move them in? Got all that checked off within 10 minutes, and they were already using the parking lot as their pop-up retail spot till they can figure out what their next step is, right? And to me, it wasn't even, it was what a neighbor needed to be able to do, right?
Yeah.
Like we have it, we can do it. And I'll be honest with you, now I'm at the point where I don't want them to leave. I love their employment so much. I
Yeah.
love that family.
Yeah.
They're just real. And to have conversations with them and to realize we're such different businesses, but yet we are experiencing pretty much everything the same, dealing with the same chaos.
Population.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
same population. It's like,
Yeah.
it's not about the business. It's about the
No.
community that
It's
we're
about who
living
you're
in.
counting on, and you know who counts on us. And I think we can say, you know, as we have being small businesses, we really are putting ourselves out there as, you know, like a service or
can't
product
hide.
based
Yeah.
business. Well, we're not trying. We're trying to be public. We're trying to be there for people when they need something, and so that's built into the mission, you know, of really kind of having a storefront, having a, you know, service business. So I think that people having more entrepreneurship or more buy-in to your town, more local control, more, you know, regional pride, all the things we've talked about, they all go hand in hand. You know, one begets the other. And when we sort of lose that moment, I mean, I was looking at it in a small microcosm, you know, in a project today that's sort of an HOA group or like a multifamily housing situation. And we haven't quite got to the finish line of everything we've been adding to it. And it's been getting used, and there's been some old culture there of just like abusing things or not
So it's
taking care of stuff.
It's an existing HOA.
Yeah. It's stretched to HOA. It's really like, you know, some duplex, you know, complexes. So multifamily housing in a place where, you know, it's people that maybe have like housing assistance, lots of things. So there's a lot of people there with some real, you know, minimal incomes or inputs or things. And we've really been building out things that they can use together as a community. We put in a big soccer lawn so that they can have a play area. We put in common space patio areas. We've put in a vegetable garden space where we can help harvest food for them. And, you know, they have a shared laundry facility that we want to do gray water and other things off of. So just really kind of giving them a better resource base so that they can do more with less.
Yep.
You know, and that's sort of what we're accountable to, is like, how do we help people do more with less?
So I have a question
So-
for you though, because as you and I have been a part of a lot of these, you know, entities that have been created, what I am noticing now in the aging HOAs or the aging community housing or community, or how about co-ops, or how, I'm just going to say, or nonprofits.
Yeah.
Okay, so we get these people that create these plans or these ideas or these communities, and there's all this energy that puts into it, right? But then what happens when they retire or
How to
can't
sustain
manage
that,
it? Yeah.
yeah.
So here, everything you just talked about, right? The gardens, the soccer fields, the laundry. Who's managing that? Yes, HOAs are all about, or community or co-ops or nonprofits. It's all kind of the same, right? It's community driven, right? It's a community driven system. What happens when infrastructures are not addressed and they start to age and the
Yeah.
cost continuously goes up, but yet they're not addressed because you're only charging this much for that group, right? That
Yeah.
HOA fee. But then you have XX
It's only as
and
good
it's
as the
3.
people who care about it, right?
Yes, how do
that's
we
where we're at
enforce
there.
that? Yeah.
Because we just are trying to finish construction on the project. People are living in it, so they're using certain phases. And I started seeing, I was like, oh, we have a little bit of a gap here of who's going to maintain this and who's going to sort of enforce the areas to be used. Do we need to add, signage? Do we need to add trash cans? Do we need to add certain things so that people can have a quality, of
what I've noticed
enjoyment and use? But we are at a moment of like needing to implement systems. Otherwise, it's just going into this chaos that it already sort of had inherently.
You just wasted
there.
resources putting in a soccer field that nobody knows how to maintain the grass.
Yeah,
or
so before that happens, I'm like at this impetus, and I got on the phone today. I'm like, guess who's back in town? Let's lay down
out.
some ground rules, because if it's up to me, I'm gonna kind of reach out and police and overlook it, because
you're the regulator.
It's my baby. It's something I put out. That's our product. That's our name. That's our kind of gift to this community too. Is like, hey, we gave you guys this space to use. Don't let the kids overrun it without being watched or cleaned up after. Don't let certain people chase people off of things. So we're right at the moment in a small scale. We're talking within like 50 people using the space, and there's so many other neighborhoods or towns and all those things that someone forgot to look behind the barn during the 4th of July, and things got out of hand. So I really think that,
and that's kind of, we
got to find it within our towns.
Look at every level that we're talking about. Like you're talking about an HOA creating these communities, but if you look at the big picture, it is the overall. These nonprofits that have access to federal funding, state funding, community funding, and there's no accountability to how it's spent or what it's used. It's the promotion of that accountability with that nonprofit board. It's like, oh, we got $1 million from this corporation to go towards this. Okay, how exciting! We got a news article written all about it, right? But yet, where's the community enforcement? That fundage
just oversight, really.
Where's the oversight?
Just oversight, because like you're saying, in those situations,
where did it go?
Maybe those employees or that lead director does really well with that money for the group, or maybe they end up doing really poorly and going to jail.
Well, or how about
a couple roads you can go down.
The biggest nonprofit that's about ready to get started is the California Mid-State Fair. People don't understand that structure, right? But yet everything in the name of children, right? Everything's about kids, but yet you got the big entities that are a part of the fair that make good money or get good promotion, right, or whatever. But let's talk about FFA and 4-H. Did you ever do that when you were children?
I didn't really get into a lot of farming or animal farming. My kids kind of more into it, and we looked at it a bit for them starting school, because they ride horses and they have some farm space, but ended up not taking on pets. So I haven't really been super directly involved.
So FFA is not about its Future Farmers of America, right? Yeah. But I'm also going to talk about this on the side of not only as Nature's Touch, getting all of our buyers letters now, and also Crescent Valley Meats, which is our USDA processing plant, right? This is our first year that we are not going to do anything with either the Santa Barbara or the California Mid-State Fair. There's a lot to it, but I also am realizing even more, and I've been banging the drums, and I know that there's nonprofit board members that are not going to be happy with me continuously talking about this, but somebody needs to talk about this. We are making money with children, and the money that they're making, these inflated prices on animals that are going to harvest as food. These children should come out of our programs fully aware of how to raise and sell an animal. I cannot have any more of the excuse of these FFA and 4-H leaders saying that they can't get kids to follow through. They couldn't have a child be responsible for taking the finished product of their animal back to the customer that bought it from that child, right? You go to auction, the people auction these numbers off. And by the way, 8% goes to the state of California every time you auction at your California Mid-State fairs, right? 8%. Where does that money go? Where is the accountability to that money, right? That's public funds, people. So how much of that is actually really coming back and benefiting the actual structure of what it's all about? Sure. FFA 4-H, about raising these animals for a market, right? For the show. But what is it doing in the sense of the infrastructures? How many small farms are still in business because of the Mid-State Fair? How many animals are actually being raised for our local food markets? You know, I want these questions answered.
Yeah.
I want the budgets
Yeah,
of
that's
where
kinda
this
where-
money has
yeah.
been made and where it's going to.
Yeah, I
right?
think nationally that's been sort of, the guise of, calling it efficiency or looking into any kind of spending and use and understanding, where things go. When things start to get very comfortable or there's a pattern or a groove there, that's where, sometimes those things aren't, what we need them to be for the whole. And that's why, for the government, for the people, by the people kind of government is really, more than just a words, there's something to that. We started talking about independence the other week. We started talking about accountability, and we started talking about regionalism and sort of pride. And I think that all those things, can really be kind of conflated or just really misconstrued into something that they're not. And I just was watching something. I can't remember if it was like a TV clip or it was something else of a video, but it was sort of an old cowboy maybe. And he was like, had his young sons ranching with him and they were being rude to a ranch hand or something. And he was like, oh, is it because I'm Mexican? Whatever it was, the storyline. But it was less kind of saying like how, that he's like, yeah, I taught my kids to be like proud Americans. He's like, I don't know exactly what that means anymore. Yeah. And I think that's kind of okay for everyone to say, hey, what do we stand for? And I think that's something that I really, think whatever, byproduct or accidental way that it's happening right now in our whole federal government, and this Trump administration, that we are asking these questions and wanting people to give answers. Mm-hmm. And it doesn't matter whether it's like, and I've been saying, it's like, I don't want to know what you're against. I want to know what you're for.
Yep.
Come down to the place that you need to speak and say what you're for, and let's start making agreements and make new agreements. You're not happy with what's in place? Make new agreements. And that's kind of where businesses or commerce and certain things, they kind of cut to that point and they know how to work the systems. But I think that people cannot complain without taking more accountability.
Bingo. But consumers do. They walk into small businesses and they complain because that is easy, right?
Yeah.
And I'm just grateful that Templeton Feed and Grain, Nature's Touch, Clava One, Carmichael Environmental, we're still alive. That you can walk in and say what you say and not think that I'm not gonna take it to the powers that be and question it. Because if you're willing to spend that energy to complain to me, then I'm going to go back and go to that level of whatever government it is and go, hey, this is what the consumers are demanding of me.
Exactly.
So how do I make this happen when customers are asking this of me? And you're telling me I need to pay to play, but yet don't do anything different. Just pay to play. Yeah. What is wrong with that system?
Yeah, and that's what it's supposed to do.
And then we have these nonprofit organizations that have, honestly, no accountability to how they're taking in money, putting out money. They're supposed to stay within a budget, right?
Yeah,
and they're
supposed to pose
and meeting their mission. And there's still so much question to where that money went. Yeah. And then you start going down the path and we have all this infrastructure that isn't being maintained or managed, but then it goes back to the one person that's still maybe in a position that hasn't had a manager, that doesn't have, there's too many chiefs and not enough Indian situations, right? Where there's not the accountability to the board or to the system that is funding it.
Well, I think there's a flaw in that. It's such a misnomer to call a business a nonprofit, because one of the inherent characteristics as we speak to in permaculture is, for a business to make money, to have a profit that allows it to stay
keep going.
green. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So I know having, heard that when I was, really studying and going through my, kind of life training, business training, permaculture design stuff. It was like, wow, okay, we can talk about the intrinsic characteristics of a chicken and what we expect of that chicken. And it's the same thing with a business or, another thing. And so there's just not quite that caveat there of like, how do you keep funds up? They always have to go through a cycle and they're just on this at will or on demand ability to get funding from, government funds. But those pools start to dry up or move as, each administration wants to put money where they want to put money.
Yep.
So then one business sector is like, oh, we're out of money because, this government has now placed it there. And it's like, we have to be more solvent than that,
And
especially with services that we deem valuable.
You think about it, it's actually the perfect way to actually live the life you want to live. Put the money into the way that you want to live.
And that's what I'm saying.
If you want these programs to succeed, put your money there. If
Money
you
where your
want,
mouth
if you,
is.
if you want to eat local healthy food and you want to see how your food is farmed, put it in the hands that that are touching the food.
Yeah. Or you want to give you the input, like we're saying, someone like you, so that you can take it up the chain, so they don't have to go up the chain for it. And that's a service that you're providing, but it's hard being stuck in the middle there where you're getting it from both ends. They're down here, biting at you, and these guys are up here taking stuff off. So, it's just really, we need people to kind of continue to fill in those gaps. We need the generations to fill in and do their duties, sort of like your civic duty or whatever we went through in World War II with the, really accounting for all of our material use.
I think my struggle personally now is just, how do we engage this? Like the more I put myself back out there, maybe it's my, problem for having the last 3 years of a disconnect. Cause I admit that I kind of recluse. I needed to, for my own mental
when you're
health.
in service, it's hard to keep that service
For my own mental health, I had to recluse, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, now I'm like, okay, guys, when I recluse, I thought there was going to be all these others that were going to step up because everybody was talking the talk, right? But oh my gosh, when I stepped back, we really lost this many other small businesses. Where did all of our local farms go? Really, we can't produce that anymore? Oh, wait, we have some USDA random plant producing it in a little rink-a-dink place in Nevada, and it's called local food? Yeah. No, that's not okay.
Well, and also the government is not very good at being in business either.
But this is our,
being a
I'm
for-profit
referencing
business.
to our community.
I was thinking like a CSD board or
Yeah.
some group. They don't always see those connections through commerce, the economic, social, environmental things. We don't really live in a connected way. So I think we're getting a disconnected, services and population at the end. And somehow we have to plug in. So that's why I think we're doing this, is why are we, starting a platform that we can at least have engagement. And like I said, for me, it starts around food, and it starts around what are we, putting in our systems, in our bodies, where are we getting it from? Who are we getting it from? And then from there, how are we building upon that foundation?
Look at Templeton Feed and Grain. It's not just what we put in our bodies, Josh. It's literally, they've changed millings. The way that things are milled, they have to get their stuff milled in the Central Valley now, right? That was already in the works before the fire, right? But before the fire, because of rules and regulations, aging infrastructure, new rules and regulations, different permits that are required now to run mills. But literally, they are the infrastructure and the system that would promote open farmland.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're the ones that would keep farmers farming. It gave those local farmers the direct infrastructure to get it to a mill, to then get it into the local market, to get it into our bellies. And with that gone, we lost that. And the thing is, yes, we have this other mill, but we're limited to, right? Now the local guys are going to have to travel further. This
is going to beg that question of what do we do next, or what do we do now? And so sometimes out of those ashes, rises, a better thing. So, we can really be, building back, better infrastructure to what we have lost because of different, regulations. But again, like I said, it puts a little bit of a microscope on that whole process. Mm-hmm. As it's saying, how do we meet these certain regulations, or how do we change these regulations so that they can be met more locally or regionally? And I think that it's so hard for people to say, oh yeah, I care about my grain. I care about where my feed comes from. And unless you're in that community of, producers and suppliers to that, it is so out of sight and out of mind that we are just thinking that, it's really not a decision that we have to make anymore. But that's why I said, if we can regionally understand and care about a space that's, you know, to a scale that's possible. That's something we really need to start looking at, because California is getting a bad rap. This in general of this whole enchilada. It's like, oh, you're in California, it's this. I'm like, but you've never been to where I live in California. You don't even know what it looks like. We're in a small rural place.
We've also become that society that's like, oh, well, if we don't have it here, we can just order it, click it and order it here.
Yeah, that's a global crisis.
If we don't have it here, there's somebody else that's going to come do it for me. There is more of that. Like
that's, again, not taking accountability and letting corporate people
coming back in and going, hey, Melanie, you remember when this time of the year you would have, you know, a certain fruit or a certain vegetable? And I'm like, yeah, that grower retired. What do you mean that grower? Like that right there throws people off so much. Or I'm like, that grower passed away.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, so who took it over? I'm like, he didn't have any kids. Well, what do you mean? I'm like, there's multifamily homes getting built on his property where that orchard is now standing. Like, and they look at me like
your kids play with their kids that live where that farm was. Yeah. You should know.
Josh is trying to put a soccer field on it. You know, like, but you see what I'm saying? Like, there's so much of that now. It's like, it's discouraging. Yes. I'm lost with this is kind of like, for me, with the loss. It's a modernization
sort of, you know, dilemma.
My question has been this last week. Go? Is farming dead?
Yeah. Is it definitely dying?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't say it's dead because we still have farms, but, you know, that
not
is
enough to feed us.
Huge reason.
Not enough to feed us.
I think why these conversations need to be open again, too, is that we don't quite understand the scale that we've gotten to. And it is so far out of our hands that it keeps getting sold and bought and given away.
I can't believe that we're talking about opening more grocery stores or more stores when at every level of food right now, there is more consolidation. There's more resource infrastructure changing, whether this person now owns the water or that regional district owns the water. Like there's more of that. And that's not just in California. Like, you know,
the Midwest everywhere. Has gone through that for a long time.
And we are opening more stores. And all I could think of is I know so many stores right now that are struggling to put product on their shelves. You know, there's a lot of Cheerios and a lot of cereals and that kind of stuff, all the byproducts.
Yeah.
But there's not a lot of food. And that's where I'm like, guys, what are we doing? Like, we can't sit here and just keep questioning, when are we going to go back and get dirty again and start building things?
No, it's a value system thing. I think that's the biggest point is like, we have to value, you know, or change the value system than what we believe in. And if we're really going to say food as medicine or food as love, food equals a certain, you know, amount of, you know, resource base, then that is one of the biggest places I think we could, you know, make those changes where it can have, you know, commerce and regulation balanced. It can have economic, social, environmental benefits and cost to something because, you know, food touches all of our lives. And these natural resources, just going from LA beaches back to our beaches, just the air quality, you know, the pollution of the water, other things. I mean, species. I mean, there's just so much stuff that, you know, we really got to be grateful for in our space. And really, you know, it's like every day that you can keep your gratitude higher than your expectations, you have a really good day. Well, and that's where we need to look at. I think expectations are high, especially that consumer demand. And they need to start looking at how to take more accountability of the system and find things out or put their money where it does the most good. And I think that without that sort of call to action, we are going to see this faltering where industries, like construction industries, people from plumbers to, you know, farmers, like all that knowledge base of people that hold it in their hands is leaving us. And I don't know where people think that
both ends. Because my husband's a general contractor, right? Yeah. And he does pretty much. I mean, we have our subcontractors, but he's struggling. Like he feels bad because our subcontractors, all of them. You know, I was just telling Miguel when I walked in, my husband works 7 days a week right now. Our subcontractors are working 7 days a week right now just to keep up with minimal stuff, not new construction. My husband refuses to do new construction. Yeah. He will do remodels and repairs, you know, property management kind of thing. And I mean, just the aging infrastructure that we have in residential and commercial properties right now and not being able to get the supplies and or the
Labor.
the labor. But how about the fact is there are people that want to do it, but they don't even know how to run a
That's what I'm saying.
screwdriver.
Yeah, it's not even a fact now of just missing bodies.
Mm-hmm.
It's missing sort of knowledge.
Yep.
And it sort of was always things that were there were, you know, a little more basic. So that's why I really, like to see more trade, kind of school or more trade, oriented, abilities. I've been talking with more and more, parents, and I think even some family, when we're down south, and it's kind of talking about, getting into some certain trades and apprenticeships and doing things that route instead of just degrees that, aren't really feeding into a viable, job growth, kind of sector. So there's just really stuff that we need to do where we need more work done, and we need people that can really take pride in that. And I think that's what's so great.
But
seeing
also the
smaller
problem, we're going to go
companies.
back to regulation. The problem is too, it's like as you and I as business owners, when you have to pay a minimum wage at what you do, right? We all need laborers, we all need employees. You pay the minimum wage that we are, but then we're having to educate and train these people that have honestly no basic skills anymore. It's a struggle, and I'm
Stuff's
coming
falling out of our
coming to you with the
society,
hospitality. I can't believe how many of my fellow hotel restaurant ownership friends are all saying, like, how do we pay minimum wage and nobody even knows how to make a bed when you're in a hospital in a hotel? And I'm like, or how about say hi to people as a hostess?
Be hospitable.
And at the beginning of a restaurant, I'm like, really? And they're like, yeah. I mean, it's like, and I'm training
Well,
it
and
too.
my kids, I'm so proud of them. They've both got in there, at early age, like 15-year-old getting jobs.
Well,
and
we are their parents.
yeah, so that's we have models to follow, and we need to just kind of, like we said, support each other, hold others accountable, and really, I think go out fighting. Like, I don't see any other way than trying, our damnedest to really invest in our communities, and then see our country grow on top of that. You can't really do something at a national level, as easily as you can do something at the local level. And I've really been putting that into place since I was 18, when I realized, like, wow, I'm very small and insignificant in the whole. I need to build my way up this, chain. And I think that, there just in other cultures, what I see that we sort of lack is that pride in being a butcher, that pride in being, the baker, and the people that really are bringing something tangible. And I think that we've sort of overshot some of that with things that are more, high tech, or
there's
just
more of a pride though, in the sense of they're out doing it. Like, we have all these rules and regulations. There are people doing it, right? Like, there's more people though trying to do it illegally.
Sure. I mean, people are doing it in all ways.
And
possible.
I don't condone that. I'm not that person. But at the end of the day,
All of it moves the
you
needle
and I
to where it
both
needs to
know,
go.
how do you invest in that when you know that one day
That's
somebody's
hard. That's hard.
going to rat them out,
Yeah.
and that infrastructure is going to go
Underground
away.
economy is really hard to invest in.
Yes.
Like, I don't fault anybody for getting there.
Not
but
me
it's like,
neither.
hey, we all start out somewhere, or we need to,
Because there are
break something
butchers
in.
and there are farmers, but
Yeah.
they're not willing to want to do. And again, I don't condone it because I don't blame them. I don't want to pay and deal with the regulators and the insurance and all.
Especially when they're blown out of proportion.
Exactly.
Right. And so there's a fine line to, the law. And I just thinking that we find things that are more universal, and then more things we can agree upon across our community, as opposed to what we can disagree upon, is going to be a huge step.
But that's
because we need to find what we're for and not what we're against, because everybody's, got their own opinions. But how do we really find something that does kind of have that mass need? Not every single person has to put in. You need about 10% to lead, 80% to follow, and 10% that are just going to live to fuck it up. And we know that makes a cycle.
Yep.
So I mean, it just, you got to get in where you fit in. And I really hope that people start to really turn to their neighbors, or turn to their communities, or turn to groups and things that we can start to at least have conversations about it and see the processes, or invest and believe in these processes that we're going to all need to survive. And so there's definitely some course correction and changing, and I like calling it like the village way, where it's like, how do you do things in concert like that so that you can see amplification of your dollars spent. And so, yeah, maybe you're paying more now this year or this month or season, but if you keep investing into that, niche, then those things are going to grow.
Yep.
And I think this area is small enough that we can really, depend on each other that way. So I'm very thankful that, we can speak.
You and I
and
both,
we've already done business just beyond, us
you and
getting
I are
together.
you and I are examples of
Yeah,
that.
we've been great
People
doing
invest,
stuff with food lately and other
invest
components
in
that we
us and you
both
see
need.
it.
So, I think that it starts small as it needs to.
Yep.
And it just grows. And I think that it fills something bigger in our hearts than that single bottom line of dollars and cents.
Yeah.
And that's something I think, we all need to take some stock in.
And I do request, though, that people, before just putting out their demands or their wants or their expectations, let's hone in. And
Yeah,
really,
what we're grateful for.
and really
the
wonder,
already.
just because you're asking for
What do
it,
you already have?
yeah, what do you, do you like, and why am I saying this is because there are so many people that, I can't believe how many people are like, well, when are they going to have it back? I'm like,
Will their place burn to the ground? Like, when are they going to be
you guys
open
know, I'm
again?
like, they're, and I get that too, a lot. Like, I'm like, he retired.
Yeah.
Well, is it going to come back? Is somebody going to say, no, there's multifamily homes being built on his property
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah.
Well, I want Milne. I have a party that's coming and I need those.
Yeah.
Like, I'm getting that a lot now. And I'm like, where did this come from? Where did the fact of people be patient, give grace? How about, okay, just because I don't have the white apricots this year, white lightning heirloom
Party's
variety,
over.
we could do others. And I'm like, oh, and by
Unless
the
you guys
way,
want to just have yellow apricots, then we
right?
can have the
Oh
party.
my gosh.
Yeah, no, I think like we're saying, learning to be adaptable and accountable and those things. Like I've really learned that a lot putting on some of those kitchen pop-ups where it's like we really wanted some specific things, but it was like, well, that's really more typical of the same climate or region, but in a different continent. So we're like, hey, what are we going to be able to do that's really locally
and that's the
filling
thing
that
is
need?
it's not even just about food. Our
Sure.
demands as Americans are getting very unrealistic. And
Yeah.
that's honestly, like, if you just look at the media and everything that is going on in our, every entity, whether it be, we talk about food
Well, it's
and
getting more
farming,
extreme. Each extreme is speaking
medicine,
up more
it's
loudly.
construction. We just talked about construction. It's like, where do we just take it back and go, okay, we have enough. Obviously, our demands are putting too much pressure on the infrastructures.
Yes. Yes.
When do we go, okay, I need to take a chill. I need to give small business grace a little bit because holy moly, if I'm paying, $4 to $5 a gallon at the pump, how does a business pay that? Because we don't get any fuel exemptions. We used to. How is a small business being able to keep their prices at the same as what it was when
Reasonable,
$3 a gallon? How are we supposed to? Most small businesses are not acceptable or not allowed to get subsidies. We don't have the subsidies that come in. And now when you get to the, ConAgra levels and those kind of, yes, there's Wall Street manipulation going on that they're able to keep prices here so they can increase it here. Like that's
if
how
they're moving
they,
into that volume, they're
Yes.
manipulating the markets the way they want to. Here, it's sort of the longevity or, the status of that business in the community.
Yeah.
It's like, hey, we're going to always be able to have
And how do we
this
find-
much of a fine line.
How do we
of profit.
afford the minimum wage or, the employment liability? And yes, there is so much going on with immigration because you got to understand, yes, farming does bring in immigration. But the sad thing is just like you turn on the media, federal government can't communicate with the state government. The state governments weren't doing compliancy to the federal government. And I get that we need to clean this up. But again, 90% of the time, if you've ever worked in any of these agencies, most of them, you think you're doing the right thing. Regulatory, getting that right permit. Oop, here comes another one. Oh, well, yeah, I see that you have that permit, but you're going to need this one too. Why do I need that one? Well, because that department doesn't take care of this and this and this. And it's the same way with immigration. It's the same way with employment.
Yeah.
It's the same way with insurance.
Yeah.
It's the same way with everything that you look at in business. And your home right now is not regulated as much as a small business, but everything that we do, every way we vote, every way we spend directly affects small business.
Yeah. Well, the corruption at the top is really squeezing the middle, and crushing the bottom.
Yep.
And that's sort of the wheel of life right there. I mean, that's just kind of how those things go. So now, that's why America's having so many growing pains, is it doesn't know how to really grow in a way that's going to benefit the people. I mean, so many past countries we've had our own civil wars, even in the last 200 years that we've been here.
Yep.
So there's a lot to this process that is very typical, but how do we break conventions, in a way that we are, safe from those extremes? And that's what I see right now in politics. It's almost like, yeah, we don't need even party names. I was like, if someone just rises out of the masses that's going to represent that new combined, agreed, kind of point of view or outlook, then, we can come back to having party names, because right now you can't just have the two extremes be the loudest.
Nope.
Because then it pulls you in one direction and your money gets lost everywhere.
I'll be honest with you, I don't fit.
So the government can't keep up
in
with
any
itself.
categories. I never have.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
honestly,
I always said I've registered green, and I was like, just because I wanted to change it.
I like that color.
Yeah, so I was young.
But the problem is too, like for
fun.
me, it was. I mean, this is the best example. I started Nature's Touch. Okay, came from farmers market. I wanted to do a farmers market retail style, right? Nature's Touch Nursery and Harvest started in 1999 officially with the first permit. I was growing since 1994, but as a business permit, I had a farmers market permit. But then small business permits came 19.
Yeah, you're underground for a few years.
Well, farmers market's not
I'm just
necessarily
kidding,
underground.
but I'm saying,
But
how smaller.
I got my first
people
certified farmers market cert in 1994. Okay,
Nice.
so
So from a stand to a
retail
storefront,
facility, right? And I had this person that wanted to sell to me and wanted me to represent their product, and I said, okay, how do I, do I just need to put a refrigerator in and put it there? Well, that was Albert Strauss Dairy, and he's like, well, refrigeration, you probably need to contact environmental health. That stage of my game, I'm like, who's environmental health? I needed a health permit, right? Yeah. And the first inspector,
Sure.
and I'll never forget him, he walked in, looked at my little store and said, this is cool, but I don't know what category to put you in. And he's like, he actually bought some fruit for me, and, was like, sat down and talked about my business structure. And I'm like, I'll be honest with you, I wanted just to sell, fresh produce and a little bit of USDA approved meats. And I said, but other than that, this whole dairy thing came in because of a friend telling me I needed to carry it. And he has trucks passing me every day, so why can't I sell his product?
Yeah.
And he goes, all right, let's get you an approved refrigerator, and I'll come and inspect and give you a health permit for that refrigerator. And it was crazy because the moment he changed his position, I now know why he changed his position, because regulations changed. Then it became, instead of a once-a-year permit, it became every 6 months. And then we got a new inspector. That inspector didn't like how he did it. She was an infectious disease and then she became a health inspector. She was afraid of everything. Yeah, so the light was going to give us bacteria. I mean, I sound like her. So then she started demanding more and more, but yet I was an existing business, right? But she kept telling me that the busier I get, if I run out of space and I need to move, or if I need to add, that's going to change my permit. Uh-huh. And I said, well, what do you mean? I'm not going to do anything different if I move. I'm going to stay the same exact way. She said, no. She goes, the moment you move, I'm going to make you...
You're not grandfathered in
not
anymore.
Not grandfathered in. And sure enough, when I moved from 7th Street to 3rd Street, I had to have a full licensed kitchen.
Yeah.
She demanded 3-part... sinks.
Yeah.
I had to have a mop sink. I had a hand washing facility. I had to have a grease trap. Even though I didn't make anything.
Yeah.
I had to have all that just in case I needed to wash something in that refrigerator. And that is no joke.
Yeah.
And then because that created a bill, I then said, okay, fine. What's the next step if I wanted to cook something? Well, you need a hood. $100,000 later.
Sprinklers, yeah.
Yeah, then I was able to cook food. And, now that permit is, $1,400 a year. For what?
Yeah.
For the exact same thing I was doing in the very beginning. Yes, I'm making food, but minimal.
Yeah, regulation
minor.
and commerce go back and forth, and so one inspected another. So that's the trick there. And that's what we said. How do we have like an advisory council or something enough that's like enough people can raise their voice to a regulator to get passed as legislation or something. So there's a lot of
I have people set
layers
up
we've added
right down the street from me, cutting fruit, selling food, no refrigeration, nothing
corner of the street.
on the corner.
Yeah.
And this health inspector walks in for the inspection. I'm like, seriously? I'm like, what do I have to hide? I'm doing the exact same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know, but Melanie, we have no funding for any of the other stuff. So we just are coming to the people that pay.
Yeah, you get
and
targeted.
I'm like, okay, then I'm going to stop paying you.
It's a scam. Yeah.
I'm going to start paying my health permit. No, I'm just kidding.
And instead of the mafia sending someone to whack you, they just send someone who's like, oh, well, you're going to get fined.
Yeah.
Or you're going to get jailed.
So it's the
hard
same
part.
way that I've raised my children. You're not in trouble until you get caught. You better get caught from somebody other than your mother because your mother's more scary, okay? So, that's kind of like the whole system of what we are in.
Yeah.
And again,
I mean, there's a certain amount of accountability
most
there.
consumers don't know that.
Yeah.
And their demands are heard.
Outrageous.
But I hear them.
Yeah.
And at times I wouldn't mind doing it. But I'm telling you, my hands are tied. Templeton Feeding Grains hands, we're all tied.
Yeah, there's almost no way for them to know that it's outrageous because, again, they can see so much across the globe right now, too, and just across, the scale of towns and what size town do we want to be and how and why and what. I mean, there's so much ways to do this stuff that
Templeton needs law enforcement.
Again, like
if we're going to grow, we need law enforcement.
Yeah, I mean, the sheriffs usually were enough to scare us when we were young.
And they patrol the size of Rhode Island. Yes, we keep getting, but at the same time, we need a centralized law enforcement.
Yeah, I think, and essentially you almost need more of a task force or a committee, or like I said, if you put the parents and people like you have a great party at the park, sure, nothing gets out of hand there that isn't immediately, dealt with either internally or something, so, I mean, but that would be the scale. Like say,
I just posted a sign that says children are responsible for their children. I posted on social media because I was walking into a racetrack. We were going racing in Santa Maria. And literally right when you walk into that track, it says parents are responsible for their children. I love that sign. I think it needs to be posted everywhere.
But that was the problem I'm having in my neighborhood. I'm just like, hey, I know the kids want to have fun, but someone's got to be responsible for what they're leaving behind and what they're doing to the infrastructure and facilities. And I was like, hey, look, you don't want me to be the one who's knocking on your door talking about that. Like I called the immediate management and I said, look, we need some ways to police this. That to me, it's sort of like you can have some different ways. There's some times I worked with the city of Paso, I worked with the city of Tascadero water companies and water divisions. It was sort of like Paso wanted to give everyone a fine and give them a penalty for not using, or for using too much water or not doing it on these set days. And Tascadero was really able to give a lot of rebates and things for people and incentives to do that. And so I think the same thing with some signage, you can tell people and engage them, hey, this is, this beautification and progress or this dedication. It's on you. If you're going to mess with that, it's on you and
accountability.
Your parents, right? Who've allowed you to be doing that. So, you don't need to just always reprimand from the top down. I think there's a lot of ways we can police with education. And so signage is a great way to doing that. But then having accessibility and to all ages. Mm-hmm. Grandparents are great. They're better than cops sometimes. Like if your grandma caught you doing something, probably your Mexican grandma especially, like you're...
It just depends on what it is.
I'm just
My
kidding,
mom, when she was alive, actually was the incentivizer for bad behavior. My kids knew when they wanted to go toilet papering in Templeton, they called Grandma Tisi.
Yeah, well, but it goes both ways. Yeah, Grandma's gonna let you do some good, clean
My
fun.
kids could walk on water. And I mean, honestly, I think my mother-in-law, my children are like, well, we're going with Grandma Margaret. Why? Well, because she'll let us get away with it. Oh, see, that's how we roll around here. So the Blankenships might have an exemption to that rule. So, kids are going to allow, but again, it would be my responsibility.
Culturally, they're going to keep the culture in bounds, and especially all ages. So, I mean, it can't just be like, oh, we need police to police us. We need to police ourselves.
Yep.
Parents, like I've had to tell kids at this neighborhood, I've had to knock on the door and talk to parents too. And just, I'm just trying to be, like you said, proactive. And that's where we
instead of reactive.
Yeah, that's where we want our medicine. That's where we want, all of our growth in ways that we need to really own up to.
I agree.
So
guess what?
That's all I got to say about that.
It's time, buddy.
All right.
It's all time.
Well, I came in 1 minute late, so hopefully we went 1 minute
you
over.
yeah,
and we're
but
even.
we were on time, not you weren't. But I'm just grateful that you're back. But I have some exciting potential
let's hear
guests,
this.
but it's just this July time. Everybody's got vacations on their schedule.
Summertime.
So this next couple weeks, once vacations are over, we're gonna have some fun guests. So I will announce them then. You and I got to talk and get prepared because I'm super excited. And yes, guys, we're working on TikTok. I've had a lot of people. You guys got my group text message. I've had people wanting us on TikTok. I don't know TikTok, so I needed to come to the
we're gonna
the
be
youth.
TikTok famous. Great.
Oh gosh, I guess so. So we're working on that. So check us out on all of those social medias. Come visit us at our businesses, Nature's Touch Nursery and Harvest, Crescent Valley Meats. Reach out to Carmichael Environmental for Josh. And
we'll be back.
We'll be back
We'll have
next
more to
Monday.
say,
We
I'm sure.
always do. All right, have a good week,
See you
everyone.
then.
Bye.
Cheers.